At this time, I'd like to call the regular monthly meeting of Township Supervisors, August 3rd, 2016, 4 p.m. At this time, I ask you to stand for a silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4, roll call. Mr. Vernon.
Here.
Mr. Schiffbauer.
Present.
Mr. Scott here. Number 5, the Roadmaster's report for the month of July. In the month of July, we mowed with our tractor 8 days along the road. We also had to repair the tractor. It was out for 5 days out of service, but we're starting to get caught back up now. Compost, we held 15 days. We're still getting some material in there. I've been going through the camera on Monday mornings. Once again, it's only for grass and limbs. Limbs no bigger than 3 inches. I pulled out some concrete block in there last week, and also a bunch of landscape timbers with a bunch of pieces of rebar in them, and they didn't catch a couple of them. They ran through the grinder down there, and it caused, I think it was like $2,300 in damage just in one day. So once again, please, and if you see somebody there, tell us. I mean, call the township on Monday and tell us that you saw them, and get a license plate number, because even though we have 15 cameras, sometimes it's hard to see and get their license plate number. So we'd appreciate that. We also installed a drain on Lopez Drive. It was an ongoing problem we've had with ice. That should take care of the problem. We installed a new swing set at Hutchinson. We have 2 more infant swings and 2 more regular swings. We ran the sweeper truck 6 days in the month of July. We patched in various locations throughout the township. I think the roads are pretty good right now. We don't have too much left on the paving, but they'll always come back, so we'll be out to help you. We painted stop on the roads. We're redoing I had a lot of people calling me, asking me we don't have every intersection painted stop. We're getting all the ones that we had repainted, and then after we get that done in September, we're going to start painting where we don't have it. So we will go through and finish that. We also replaced the roof on the big pavilion out at Hutchinson. They actually finished it up today. And only other item I have on my agenda is our longtime mechanic, Dan Nicolo, retired the 1st of July. I think he was here for 42 years, so we wish him well. And that concludes my Roadmaster's report. Do you gentlemen have anything else?
I just have one minor thing. This year was the first time we tarred and chipped a few of our township roads, and probably been close to 50 years since the township last tried tar and chipping. And that's simply because of the financial factor. It's a lot cheaper to tar and chip a road. Now, we're certainly not going to apply this to all the roads in the township, but the roads that we feel are traveled in such a manner that the tar and chipping will work and save the township some money. I think we received one complaint about the tar and chip, and that was by, I think, a jogger. Somebody was running along the road, and it's going pretty well. But we think that during our inspections, the quality of work was very substantial and acceptable to the Board of Supervisors. So that's all I have.
Anything else, Mr. Vernon?
Everything's covered.
Moving on, number 6, the Code Enforcement Officer's report. Mr. Vernon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For July of 2016 Code Enforcement report, again, we have 1 full-time officer working 5 days a week, 7 to 3:30. And we have another officer working 4 days a week, 8 to 5. So we are covered pretty well during the day. In the evenings, we have a part-time officer working every evening, 7 days a week, and also on weekends. We have someone working. Letters given out this past month for property repairs, we had 12. We had 4 complaints with junk vehicles. 4 complaints, we only had 2, which is unusual. 8 to 5 on Saturdays, anytime you can burn. And it must be a controlled burn, which means you have to have someone there watching the fire at all times. High grass and weeds, we did have 16 this month. Again, if it's over 10 inches, we give you a warning, give you 5 days to correct it. If not, then we have to issue a citation. We don't want to do that. We did put one of our properties we made unsafe. Quad complaints, we had 2. I'm sure there's probably more than that, but we just got 2 official complaints in the office. We have 3 citations issued by our zoning officer, 1 other zoning violation. Our main officers during the day travel 1,920 miles. Our part-time officers in the evening and on weekends travel 1,611 miles throughout the township. A total of 3,531 miles traveled throughout the township, acting as the eyes for the police, in other words. And also we had 7 fire citations given out and 3 handicaps given out by our officers. That concludes my report for the month of July.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Schiffbauer?
Nothing further.
Number 7, a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Chairman, I entertain a motion.
I'll move to
We
approve.
have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
On a roll call, Mr. Vernon,
Yes.
Mr. Schiffbauer,
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. Motion carries. Number 8, comments on agenda items. Does anyone have any comments just on the agenda items? We'll have public comment later in the meeting. No? Number 9 is the sewage department report. During the month of July, our audit is still in progress. We did have a meeting yesterday. We're going to have a final meeting, I think, next week to conclude our audit. And as of the meeting yesterday, everything looked pretty good with the audit. That was 2015 and prior. We took the sewage authority over on January 1st, 2016, and we called for an audit just to make sure everything was up to par when we took over, and it appears to be. Number 3, the pump for number 2, I've mentioned before, we're replacing the pumps in the Route 21 pump station. We did get the first pump in a couple months ago. We ordered the second pump. It's supposed to be in on the 19th of August. When it comes in, we're going to install it, and that pump station should be pretty secure for a few years now, and we didn't have to go through with that renovation project, so things are on course out there. PennDOT reimbursed us $98,000 last month from the Route 21 project for sewer lines that we needed to move. I'll mention it in a motion later, but last month we bid a job to put a sanitary sewer line on Route 21 to feed the Dollar General and the Kingdom Hall above it on Route 21. The developer went into he's going to do it himself, more or less, is what it comes down to. So we rejected all the bids. We sent the letters to all the bidders, so we're not doing that project, but I'll get into that in a motion later. We installed a couple backflow preventers that we had problems with the flooding in June. We installed 2 of those. Just the one checking on manholes and stuff like that, our normal everyday things. We had 127 one calls and 8 service calls. None of our pump stations had any issues. And I believe that's all I have for the month of July. Do you gentlemen have anything to add? Thank you. Number 10 is open the bids for 3,300 ton of various stones. Last month we advertised. We were going to put the bids out, and once again, like I mentioned last month, we only ever get 1 bid for this. We advertise it. I even called around last year and tried to get other people to bid on it, and there was just no interest. So we get the same bids every year. Mr. Davis?
Shall we open them both?
We can. They're back to back.
Yeah, I don't know which is which. I think
Spring Stone would be the stone.
I'll open that one first then. I'll open Cool Spring Stone. That's the only one we have, I believe, on the stone, right?
Yeah.
It's accompanied by what appears to be a, so we have a bid bond here. We do from Fidelity and Deposit. The bid amount for the total is $53,450. I can read each item if you'd like, gentlemen.
No.
I don't believe we need it.
$53,450. Apparently, it's our only bid.
Who's that from?
That's from, make sure I say it right, Cool Spring Stone Supply.
That price appears to be the same as it was last year, last year's bid. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the bid.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Cool Spring Stone.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second Mr. Schiffbauer's motion.
Motion and proper second on the roll call. Mr. Schiffbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes, motion carries. And number 11 is opening the bids for 1,000 ton of various amosite.
Yes, we have one bid of Golden Eagle Construction Company. It is accompanied by the appropriate bid bond. The amount of the bid, $56,400. It's a 3-item bid. And I could break it down further if the board wishes, but it's the only bid.
Yeah, we bid the same thing as we bid last year, and it appears that that one line item must be a little bit more than the other. We had 55,300 last year, and you said this is 56.4.
Yes,
So,
sir.
and it goes up and down. I know in my business it goes up and down with the oil. So when oil's up, it's up. When it's down, it's down. But they, unfortunately, when you do this, you bid it out for the whole year. So they have to cover if oil was to skyrocket, they almost would take a loss. So they pretty much go in with the same bid, but it doesn't appear to be out of line with the $1,100 increase.
Mr. Chairman, that's the only bid as I mentioned.
Thank you, sir. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the bid from Golden Eagle Construction.
I'll move to accept the bid from Golden Eagle Construction.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion and proper second on the roll call. Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Schiffbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes, motion carries. As I mentioned in the sewer report, at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to enter into an agreement with Mark Gurman to install a sewer line on McClellantown Road. It's what I explained to you before. I do have a copy of the developer's agreement here. Mr. Gurman decided that he was going to go in with the contractor and just do the job himself. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Mr. Ober? I just wanted to make sure it's clear that we did charge the developer $7,335.40 for our cost that we incurred to bid the job out and the design.
Yep, and inspection services in there. Plus, he paid the appropriate tap-in fee
Right.
for the tap that he's receiving.
Right.
Basically, the developer has entered in an agreement with the apparent low bidder of the project. So we will be on site. We will ensure that the line is installed in accordance with the township's rules and regulations, and all right-of-ways have been acquired and signed and recorded. So the project is ready to move forward. So.
In fact, I think I sent the right-of-ways. Mr. Ober and I talked, I believe I sent them to the township today. I dictated a letter. I didn't have it typed, or I'd have brought it up with me. We'll get it to you tomorrow. They're recorded.
And we did require him to have a bond. We did receive the bond yesterday, I believe, Walker. So everything's in order. If there's no further questions at this time, I'll entertain a motion to enter into the agreement with Mark E. Gurman to install a sewer line on McClellantown Road.
I'll move on that motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second Mr. Vernon's motion.
Motion and proper second on the roll call. Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Schiffbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, motion carries. Thank you. Number 13, this is to pass a resolution to submit an application for Fayette County local share account funding for $50,000 for the Fort Gaddis spur. Mr. Schiffbauer, you've been handling this.
Yeah, there were actually three motions or resolutions that we're going to have to act upon regarding the LSA money. And we applied during the last period of funding for the funds to be used to help complete the Sheepskin Trail, which we're about to get started on. We're waiting final word from DEP to go ahead with the project. And at that time, our application was rejected. We're trying once again. Hopefully, we'll try to enlighten the body that acts upon and approves these grants of the significance and how much it means to getting the Sheepskin Trail started here in Fayette County. South Union Township, we have done our fair share We're constructing our section of approximately 2.2 miles with the grant money that we've received approval from DCNR, and we'd like to continue and further develop that with other projects that would be related to the Sheepskin Trail. And the one project would be expending some funds to help construct a spur trail that would run from the terminus of our Sheepskin Trail at the Hutchison Park, and it would run on various township roads into Lick Hollow Park. At one time, Lick Hollow Park was a very popular spot for people to go picnic, kids playing. It's unfortunate the park is in somewhat disrepair. We've met with the people from, I think, DEP that runs the park, and we've expressed, along with our representative Mahoney, of the desire to upgrade the facilities. The picnic tables there are in terrible shape. But I think if we can go ahead and move along and develop the spur trail into the park, it would help, I think, improve the chances that the state would place a stronger emphasis on upgrading the park. One of the other motions that we'll be making here is the spur trail that would run from, once again, Hutchison Park up to the Fort Gaddis homestead. We have a grant application for multimodal funds through PennDOT in the amount of $550,000, and that project would run from Hopwood, from the track at Hopwood, Hutchison there, Sheepskin Trail up to Fort Gaddis, another 0.2 miles, and the funds, if we were successful from LSA, would help go into that project to offset the cost. And the third aspect of the resolution that we would act upon would be using funds from the LSA to improve and restore the Fort Gaddis estate. As you know, last meeting we voted to establish a Fort Gaddis Homestead Historical Board, and we're moving along with that, and I think and hope that the body that will be acting on these funds will look upon them in a different light, especially in consideration in trying to get the Sheepskin Trail to move it. We've talked about this in the past, the significant economic impact that the Sheepskin Trail would have on Fayette County if it were to be completed. It's taken far too long, but I think if we concentrate our efforts, and I know the county commissioners, new county commissioner formation is active. They've taken a different look and placed a higher significance and priority on trying to complete the Sheepskin Trail. Unfortunately, one of our commissioners who's been very active from the very start of the Sheepskin Trail in Fayette County is out of commission now, and hopefully he'll be back and we'll start to once again move on this. But these are the three resolutions, and I don't know if I'd have to read them, but maybe Dana, if you want to add anything to what I've said today about the three resolutions that we have here that will be considered by...
Sure. The three applications that, of course, Mr. Schiffbar referred to have already been submitted, but we're working to secure that they will be reviewed for the LSA funding. The project itself, the three projects itself represents requests for a total of $600,000 available for this year's funding. So we're hopeful that there will be at least one, so hopefully all three awarded, so that we can complete and see the vision that's been brought on by the South Union Township and the work that's been out there to go on further for future opportunities as well. So if the match money would be secured through the two funding requests, that would help go a long way to complete that Sheepskin Trail, as well as getting the Fort Gaddis up and running for an economic development type opportunity for tourism attraction, which is a driver for our economy.
Thank you. If there's any other comments?
I have nothing. Anything, Mr. Byrne?
No.
Okay, with that, I'd like to make a motion that we pass a resolution requesting grant funding for the LSA program and $50,000 for each of the three projects. That's the Fort Gaddis Restoration, the Fort Gaddis Spur, and the spur trail that would run from Hopwood or Hutchison to Lick Hollow. That is my motion.
I'll second. Do we need to make a single motion because it's resolution?
I would do single if you don't mind, Mr. Schiff. I don't mind.
Could it
I hate
be
to
a
create work for you gentlemen, but I think it might be better for the application
number? Need a
process.
number, yeah, for each one.
All right. Yeah,
So the chair has a motion.
We're withdrawing a second. Withdraw again.
I was going to read the first one.
We'll try it again. I'd like to make a motion to approve a motion for the submission of grant application funds for the LSA program for the Fort Gaddis Spur project in the amount of $50,000.
And I'll second Mr. Schiffauer's motion.
We have a motion and a proper second on the roll call. Mr. Schiffbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes.
My second motion would be once again to apply for funds in the amount of $50,000 through the LSA program for the Fort Gaddis Restoration Project in South Union Township.
I'll second Mr. Schiffauer's motion on that one.
Motion and proper second on the roll call. Mr. Schiffbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes.
And my third motion would be to apply for LSA funds in the amount of $50,000 for the Sheepskin Trail Lick Hollow Spur Project.
I'll second that motion.
I just want to make one comment. The Fort Gaddis restoration is actually 55,000 requests.
Oh,
The other spurs was
Yeah,
50 each.
55 over.
Okay.
We don't have our glasses on.
That's okay.
All right, well, I'm sure we can make a correction.
And reflect that.
We can. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second Mr. Schiffauer's motion.
On the roll call, Mr. Schiffbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. Thank you, Mr. Schiffbauer.
You're welcome.
Before we go on, I mentioned it in the beginning, and then I forgot to mention it in the motion, but I would like to, at this time, make a motion to reject all the bids from last month's meeting. We sent letters out. Does anyone have any questions on that, since it's not on the agenda? I'd just like at this time to make a motion to reject all the bids from the German project on the McClellan Town Road sewer line.
I'll second your motion.
A motion and a proper second. On a roll call, Mr. Scott, yes. Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Schiffbauer, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 16, comments from the public. Does anyone have any comments? Who would like to go first? Come on up. Please state your name for the
Sure.
record.
My name is Vincent DeBeese. I live at 40 Foreman Avenue. And in May, I became aware of the tower group in Grace Brethren Church wanting to build a 180-foot cell phone tower on the Grace Brethren Church property. How I became aware of it was I saw surveyors on the property. To me, it seemed like the tower group and Grace Brethren did not want the public to know. They wanted to do it without any controversy. How is the public supposed to know that some of these things are going on in their area? That's one question. In June, I had a gentleman from the Apolloni Engineering Company stop on my property and ask for a shortcut to get to that cell phone tower location to drill a hole. Now, do you know how big that rig is going to be? I told him, as long as I have this property, I don't give you permission to go across this property to destroy my property and Mr. Sabatini's property to find out. Because I'm opposed to that cell phone tower. I think it's in the wrong place. That's residential. Since then, I've learned that K2 Engineering's supposedly revoked the building permit that was issued in May.
There's no
There's no building.
Okay, some permit was issued in May. I don't know the
There was
paperwork.
never a building permit. May I respond to your question? Or do you have something else?
I have some more now.
I don't want to interrupt you, so you go ahead. I mean, I can just kind of clear it up where we are.
I have a couple more questions,
Okay.
and then I was going to
Yeah.
ask for a response.
Sure, you go ahead.
They have sent a revoking of whatever permit that was issued in May. But I've also seen in the newspaper a notice for the public from Cell Tower Group for the public to put input on whether this is going to interrupt any national historic site. I mean, don't they consider residential site being interrupted? I'm concerned about my sleep. I'm concerned about the noise, the light. The other thing, I just want to know, has it been revoked? And
We were well aware of this.
talk to you.
Everybody happened.
And I'll let our solicitor.
Maybe it's best if I respond to it. What had happened was, there was a zoning permit application made. There was a zoning certificate was issued, but then once we had a chance to review what was going on, because they hadn't applied for the building permit, it was revoked. So as we sit here today, there is no zoning permit. Our township engineer, Mr. Over, advised them that if they want to apply, they're going to have to apply for a special exception, which would require a hearing. So there'll be plenty of time, if they should apply,
If they should.
and if they should, and they apply in that area, because anywhere they apply in the township, they're going to need to have a hearing. So there's not going to be anything issued without a full-blown hearing, and you'll have plenty of notice, because we're going to put it in the paper.
And
We're
we
going
can
to have
have
notice
input.
required.
And that
Absolutely.
would be from our zoning board.
And that would have to go, and then they have to actually go through 2 steps. They have to apply, which I guess we'll say 3 steps. They have to apply, have a hearing before the zoning hearing board on the special exception, and they'll have to come to the supervisors. So right now, as we sit here today, nothing's issued. There is nothing moving forward.
But they
I'm
can
not-
still reapply.
Yeah, well, of course, we can't prevent them
No.
from reapplying. You can't do that. We don't have that type of authority. But we certainly have the right, and we will proceed to give input to the public. And you'll have a chance then to ask the questions of them you want to ask, and to also make the objections you feel are appropriate. But, again, we don't want to take the cart before the horse. They haven't applied.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
sir.
welcome.
Thank you.
You know, one thing I'd like to add to this, I think there's a misnomer out there in the public's feeling about this, that the Board of Supervisors were just proceeding with this application to prove it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a gray area. It's a relatively
it
new
is.
issue under SEC rules and regulations. Unfortunately, they permit cell towers in residential areas. But I can assure you, if it's up to the Board of Supervisors, we would never authorize cell towers, especially in residential areas. So I want to make that perfectly clear, the position of the
And I
Board of
think I
Supervisors.
made that
I
clear.
appreciate that, because I personally was getting the feeling that you actually wanted that cell phone tower there, and you were on.
Well, we have FAA issues to do. You got to
True.
realize it's a federal regulation, but as far as the supervisors are concerned, and we've done a lot, and I can tell you this, the supervisors have authorized me to do a lot of research on this issue. So we have researched it thoroughly, and it's not something that's going to happen with the supervisors unless it's been proper hearings and proper steps are taken. So and again, I'll reiterate, no applications are pending.
Thank you.
You know, one further thing I like that, we are in the midst of upgrading our zoning ordinances, which
Yes.
has been needed to upgrade for a long time. But we've directed our engineer and Mr. Davis to spend specific attention to this issue and develop that section of the updated ordinances that thoroughly considers this issue and establishes a mechanism that we can utilize in trying to help prevent these cell towers from being built in areas that we think they shouldn't be built
They
in.
shouldn't be there.
And as an aside to that, I just want to add one thing, Mr. Schiffauer. The old ordinance was drafted and was passed before there were cell towers.
Yes.
So no one could anticipate the future technology at that time. That's another reason why the supervisors are so interested in adopting a new ordinance, which now we know things today that you didn't know that many years ago that we can address.
I remember just one more question I wanted to ask.
Sure.
Are there any plans to extend Foreman Avenue? I asked Jason before, and he said no. I just wanted to ask again. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? State your name, please.
Charles Wilson. Jason, you know why I'm here.
Yes.
I'm wondering if there's been any more discussion about my problem with the sewage floods. 3 and 15 years. My house is shot. I'll never be able to put it on the market and sell it. Averaging that, even after I put the backflow in 4.5 years ago, I still got it.
Right. As I explained to you, it's one of the reasons we took the sewage authority over, because things weren't getting, done as fast as we thought. But to answer, and you know, I'll be blunt. I mean, like I told you before, this isn't a 2-week job. We can fix this. I mean, it's been this way. You know, like you said, you've gotten flooded 3 years now. In 15 years, I believe something should have been done. But I'm looking in. I talked to Mr. Over, one of his engineers yesterday about this problem, and I told you about possibly moving you to another sewer line.
Yes.
That's something we're going to entertain. But that's more or less a Band-Aid to solve the problem. But this isn't something you can fix in, I mean, this is what I did all my life, and this isn't something you can fix in, you know, a year. I mean, this is something that we have to start, we have to get a plan together, and we have to try to correct it. But it's not something that I can stand here right now and tell you that I'll have this fixed in 6 months. Because it's not something you can do. I mean, there's a multitude of issues that are a factor in your situation down there. I know it's not what you want to hear, but also we did our, you know, I have Maxine from our sewage office here, and we're trying to work with you on the insurance, you know, trying to do what we can to get help for you. But it's not something that we're going to be able to correct. Now, if we can move you to the other sewer line, it will correct your problem.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's possible yet. And like I said, we've only had, you know, we've talked about it, but it's not something that we're going to have to do some engineering and make sure that we can figure it out.
Okay.
So.
Is there any time limit you could give me on when I might hear something about it?
Well, I would say you'll hear something in the next 30 days. That's what I told Bob from K2, that I would like to, you know, I told you probably see somebody from K2 out there,
Right.
seeing if it's possible. It might not even be possible. It's just something I came up with. I knew there was another sewer line down lower, you know, beside you, and it's just something that I told Bob, and he said it's something we can look into. So I would say in the next 30 days we should be able to, you know, give you an answer on that, and then give you some kind of plan that, you know, I've talked to Maxine about, and I brought it up to her attention. But it's not something we can fix overnight. I mean, it's something that's going to take, I would say, a couple of years to possibly fix. To, you know, and we're not the only municipality that has this problem. Our sewer lines were put in the 70s. Technology has changed so much since the 70s, and it's just something that we have to update. But the funding's not there to do what we need to do, you know, on a yearly basis. Mr. Over, if you'd like to touch on it. Just...
Yes. The system in South Union Township, what the residents of South Union need to understand is that North Union, the city of Uniontown, and South Union Township are on one big community-wide system. And in order, unfortunately, some of South Union's system relies upon the conveyance systems through the city of Uniontown, which may be inappropriately sized now. So there needs to be an analysis community-wide for all three communities on the entire system to basically see what's going on system-wide, so that we can understand hydraulically how things are moving through the system. And until we study the system and really do a good study on the system, which never has been done, then we don't understand why certain areas are backing up. And mostly certain areas are probably backing up because other legs of the system are inputting so much sewage and water through the system. I can tell you that based upon the information being gathered at the plant, that these backups are occurring not because of the infiltration of groundwater into the system, but because of surface water that's getting into the systems. You can see at the plant peaks come within 2 hours or 4 hours after a rain event. So that's not an infiltration problem. That is actually a problem relative to stormwater, downspouts, drain lines and stuff like that getting into the system. And when that type of water is getting into the system, it basically causes a system-wide problem. I'm not saying it's just South Union residents, the city of Uniontown. It's a community-wide problem from all three communities basically having a problem with this stormwater getting into the system. So there has to be a community-wide resolve to the problem. What Jason does to fix your problem is not going to resolve the community-wide problems. It's a major problem, and just like Jason said, there is limited funding associated with trying to correct those types of problems. If we were to go out and analyze the system and come up with a result for the system, it would cost all three communities a significant amount of money to correct the problem. And right now, I mean, there's just not any money out there to do it, so. But the first step is analyzing the system, find out where the convergences are, where the problems are, and try to get to the root cause of the problem, so.
Well, as you said, outside water getting in, can anybody here explain why when they put the sewage in, they told everybody to put their downspouts into the frickin' sewage? Why would you tell people, put your downspouts into the sewage, for God's sakes?
I don't know who would have told you that, because it's never.
Because I lived out there and they did it. They told people, and everybody knows it.
I don't believe there's anybody sitting here right now that can answer that question. I mean, we'd have to ask the person that said that, because at that point, I can tell you, since the 70s, that's never been allowed.
I understand that. Yeah.
And you have to understand too, that is against DEP rules and regulations for us to allow downspouts into the sewage
In
system.
the 70s?
Yeah.
Even then, yeah, but unfortunately, the system was not installed with the scrutiny that it should have been.
Yes. I mean, your sewage bills. Can't we at least put a paper in there and send to all your customers that if your downspouts are in and we catch you, your asses are gonna get fined?
Yeah.
Well, this is one of the reasons why we had the authority dissolved, which Jason's experience, and we know if we've had a problem like this, we feel that the board could take a swifter and stronger action to try to address this issue of illegal discharge of surface water into the system. To be frank with you, over the years, there's just a half-hearted attempt by the authority to try to identify these illegal taps. But we know it's a problem, and we're committed to try in correcting it. Like Mr. Trevor said, it's not going to be done overnight.
I know.
But we're definitely going to start, and hopefully in time, that that flow will be reduced, where prevent things happening like it happened with you.
Okay.
I mean, we feel for you. I was out at your house.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
We feel for you, believe me.
And I honestly think that what I came up with, I think that we'll be able to, I think it'll, like I said, it's a Band-Aid. It's going to solve your problem. It's not going to solve the problem we have totally. But if there's something we can do, to solve your problem, and it's within our means, we're definitely going to do it.
As you know, I'm the only fool out there that gets nailed.
Right, you are. You're the lowest house down there. So hopefully we can, K2 and I can get together and we can make this work to resolve your problem.
I would appreciate
So,
that.
no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Anyone else? Come on up, sir. State your name, please.
Sure, my name is Joe Malika. I was actually here for the cell tower, but I had another question. Rick, I know I had called you, the Route 21 project. Does anybody know how that's going to, my mom and dad live going towards Franco's, a set of houses. Any idea?
Four houses down.
Any idea how that's going to be tying in, like with their, because the road is up here now, mom and dad driveway here, are they going to be able to make a turn into their place? Does anybody know?
I did talk to Greg from Golden Triangle about that, and you probably know that we actually have a photo up there where, the old road is and where the new road's going to be. The houses that you're referring to, now, not all of them, but he said just take, for instance, in the center house, if there's 10 houses,
Okay.
take the center house. We're going to add, he said, 40 feet of frontage to those houses.
Somebody had told my dad that originally last
Which
year.
will give him the area to grade accordingly down
Okay.
to the road.
Okay.
But from what he told me, they're gonna do whatever if you have asphalt, you're gonna get asphalt down
Right.
to this, if you have concrete, you're gonna do concrete down.
Right.
All new curbing along there, and I think I looked after he told me that, and I think like the further out 21 you go, the wider it's going to get. But I think it was close to 60 feet on the first house and like 35 foot on the last house.
Can they come directly onto 21? That's his question. He asked me. Can they go
Yes.
from their driveway onto
Yeah.
21?
Yes.
That was the thing he wasn't sure
Because
of.
when you look at Dixon Boulevard, how much lower it is,
Right.
I don't know
I don't
where
know
it's
how
at.
they're going to tie that.
Right.
You
coming
gotta put some
across.
retaining walls in, I think, around a
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
these buildings.
Yeah.
But I did ask that, and he said that there's enough area there for them to
Okay.
grade accordingly to
Okay,
bring it down.
appreciate it.
We'll stay on top of it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
No problem, thank you.
Jim.
Anyone else like to speak? No? Moving on, number 17, our financial statement, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, sir. Financial statement ending in July of 2016. Our general fund checking account is $627,550.61. Our general fund investment account is $99,664.92. Our state fund, $263,258.42. The hydrant fund, $10,041.84. Our athletic fund, $2,849.34. And our North Union and South Union Intergovernmental Board Fund is $21,555.84. And our sewage fund is $2,809,828.37. Includes my financial statements.
Just one correction, Mr. Brown.
Mhm.
It's $1,784,907.40.
I'm sorry, I added the two together. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I stand corrected.
And in the total road, you didn't mention the $1,024,920.97.
Okay, that's what I thought.
No problem. Is there any other corrections? Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you for correcting.
Number 18, motion to pay all current bills. Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to pay the current bills as follows. From the North Union, South Union Intergovernmental Board Fund, $5,350. From the State Fund, $15,788.25. The Fire Hydrant Fund, $1,194.59. Athletic Fund, $2,120. From the General Fund, $556,739.08.
I'll second his motion. I'd just like to mention that one, we have that was a big fund taken out of our general fund. The $298,411.02 was for our paving project for the summer. That's why it's so high this month.
Thank you, Mr. Vernon. We have a motion and proper second. Mr. Schiffbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, motion carries. Number 19, Mr. Solicitor, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, maybe I've talked too much today, but I don't have anything to add.
How about
If any of the supervisors have any
About our
questions?
engineer too.
Mr. Engineer, do you have
Anything
anything?
new coming in for us, you know of? Nothing new officially?
Thank you.
That's what we pay you for, to talk. We got our money's worth today.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, Mr. Schiffer?
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. If that's all, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn at 4:43.
I'll move to adjourn 4:43.
We have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, Mr. Vernon,
Here?
Mr. Schiffbauer,
Here. Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Schiffbauer,
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Good.